It requires meticulous planning and relentless execution. It demands respect for heritage, commitment to excellence, and an unwavering drive to create something timeless. Today, Bernard Arnault stands not only as one of the richest men in the world, but as the architect of modern luxury, a man whose influence shapes the way we perceive elegance, aspiration, and prestige. His empire, LVMH, is more than a conglomerate. It is a global standard of excellence, an enduring symbol of craftsmanship, and a testament to the power of visionary leadership. As we conclude this exploration of Bernard Arnault's life, we are reminded that his journey is far more than a biography. It is a blueprint for ambition, a lesson in strategy, and a testament to the transformative power of vision. From humble beginnings to global dominance, from observing his father's business to orchestrating the world's most influential luxury empire, Bernard Arnault's story inspires us to think bigger, act smarter, and pursue excellence relentlessly. In the end, Bernard Arnault's life teaches us that true legacy is not measured by wealth alone, but by the enduring impact one leaves on industries, cultures, and the human imagination. His journey is a celebration of intelligence, discipline, creativity, and the unwavering pursuit of greatness. An extraordinary testament to what is possible when vision meets action, patience meets opportunity, and ambition meets precision. Bernard Arnault's empire will endure. His influence will be felt for generations, and his story will remain one of the most remarkable examples of human achievement in modern history. And understanding human motivation would later become the foundation of his extraordinary ability to manage brands, markets, and global businesses. Bernard's upbringing also taught him the value of work ethic and resilience. Although he was born into a wealthy family, success was not presented as a guarantee. It had to be earned. He learned that achievement required focus, preparation, and the courage to take risks at the right moment. His parents encouraged him to cultivate both intelligence and discipline, combining mental acuity with practical skills. This dual emphasis prepared Bernard to navigate challenges with a calm, calculated approach, even under pressure. In addition to business lessons, Bernard's early years exposed him to the subtle aspects of leadership. Watching his father handle employees, clients, and partners, he noticed how respect, communication, and authority could influence outcomes. He understood that leadership was about more than giving orders. It was about guiding people, creating trust, and inspiring confidence. These early observations were instrumental in shaping the leadership style that would later allow him to manage hundreds of brands, thousands of employees, and billions of dollars in global assets. Another defining factor in Bernard's early life was his exposure to a culture of precision and excellence. From his father's meticulous approach to engineering projects to the high standards expected in the household, he learned that details matter, that quality cannot be compromised, and that reputation is earned over time but can be destroyed in a moment. This early appreciation for craftsmanship, precision, and long-term thinking would later translate directly into his approach to luxury brands, where the smallest detail could define the difference between success and mediocrity. Even in childhood, Bernard displayed signs of a strategic mind. He didn't rush into decision. He observed, analyzed, and waited for the right moment to act. He was patient yet ambitious, disciplined yet creative, and visionary without being reckless. These qualities, nurtured in the context of a supportive yet disciplined family environment, laid the foundation for the extraordinary achievements he would accomplish later in life. By the time Bernard reached adolescence, it was clear to those around him that he was not an ordinary young man. His curiosity, analytical mind, and strategic thinking were already apparent. He showed a rare ability to connect seemingly unrelated ideas, foresee potential outcomes, and imagine opportunities where others saw only obstacles. In every discussion, every project, and every observation, Bernard demonstrated a growing understanding of human behavior, markets, and leadership, skills that would later allow him to navigate the complex, high-stakes world of global luxury. In summary, Bernard Arnault's early life and family background were not just a foundation. They were the crucible in which his extraordinary abilities were forged. Exposure to business from a young age, combined with rigorous education, disciplined upbringing, and early observations of leadership and strategy, prepared him for a life defined by vision, patience, and calculated ambition. From these formative experiences, Bernard developed the qualities that would allow him to transform struggling brands into global icons, consolidate a luxury empire, and ultimately become one of the most influential figures in modern business history. This extended exploration of Part 1 can easily fill 15 to 20 minutes of voiceover narration, with cinematic pacing, reflective pauses, and emphasis on character, vision, and strategy. After growing up in a household steeped in business, discipline, and strategy, Bernard Arnault moved on to formal education, which would further shape the mind of a future global titan. His academic journey was not just a routine path. It was an intensive training ground for strategic thinking, problem-solving, and leadership. Bernard attended some of France's most prestigious schools, eventually enrolling in the École Polytechnique, a world-renowned institution known for producing engineers, scientists, and leaders with extraordinary analytical abilities. It was here, amidst rigorous courses in mathematics, physics, and engineering, that Bernard's ability to see complex systems, identify patterns, and predict outcomes became refined. But education for Bernard was never limited to textbooks. He studied not only engineering and technical subjects, but also the intersections of business, economics, and human behavior. He understood that knowledge of markets, finance, and strategy could not exist in isolation. It had to be combined with an understanding of human psychology, decision-making, and leadership. He observed classmates, professors, and mentors, constantly analyzing how people thought, negotiated, and influenced one another. This early study of human behavior would later inform his genius in managing brands, negotiating acquisitions, and navigating high-stakes corporate battles. At École Polytechnique, Bernard was known for his relentless curiosity and analytical mind. While others focused solely on passing exams or following prescribed paths, he approached problems as a strategist. He asked questions that others did not, sought deeper insights, and connected ideas across disciplines. For example, while learning about engineering systems, he began to understand how organizational systems in business could be optimized, scaled, and controlled, long before he entered the luxury industry. These insights would later help him understand the inner workings of struggling companies, allowing him to restructure them with precision and vision. Bernard's time at university also instilled in him the importance of discipline, timing, and perseverance. The rigorous academic environment demanded focus, endurance, and attention to detail. Failure was not an option, and success required methodical planning, consistent effort, and patience, qualities that Bernard would carry into every business decision of his life. He learned that even the most brilliant ideas could fail without careful execution, strategic timing, and a clear understanding of human dynamics. Another pivotal influence during these years was the exposure to innovation and problem-solving at scale. In engineering projects and team exercises, Bernard learned how to analyze complex systems, identify inefficiencies, and implement solutions that maximize performance. This early training in systemic thinking would become invaluable in the corporate world, allowing him to see the big picture while still attending to the smallest operational details, a skill that would later define his leadership at LVMH. Beyond academics, Bernard's university years taught him to observe and understand people, a skill critical to leadership. He paid attention to how individuals reacted under pressure, how leaders motivated teams, and how decisions were influenced by psychology and emotion. He realized that strategy alone was insufficient. One must also understand people, culture, and perception to succeed in business. This dual focus on systems and human behavior became the cornerstone of his approach to managing luxury brands, negotiating high-value acquisitions, and leading creative teams. In essence, Bernard's education did more than teach him technical skills. It shaped his worldview. He learned to think long-term, anticipate challenges, and approach problems with both analytical rigor and creative insight. He realized that success is a combination of knowledge, strategy, and the ability to inspire, influence, and lead others. These lessons, cultivated in his formative academic years, would later allow him to see opportunities that others overlooked, navigate complex corporate environments, and build an empire from undervalued or struggling brands. By the time he graduated, Bernard Arnault was no ordinary young man. He possessed not only technical expertise, but also strategic vision, psychological insight, and a disciplined mindset. These qualities laid the foundation for the remarkable achievements that would define his career. His education had transformed him into a thinker capable of combining intelligence, observation, and foresight into a cohesive strategy for success, a strategy that would one day allow him to reshape the global luxury industry and create a lasting legacy. Upon graduating from École Polytechnique, Bernard Arnault returned to his family's company, Ferret-Savinol, a civil engineering and construction firm run by his father, Jean Arnault. At first glance, this may have seemed like a conventional path, joining a family business and continuing its operations. But for Bernard, it was the perfect training ground for leadership, strategy, and real-world business acumen. From the very beginning, he approached the company not simply as an heir, but as an observer, learner, and emerging strategist. Bernard's early days at Ferret-Savinol involved hands-on learning across all aspects of the business. He worked on construction sites, negotiated with contractors, managed client relationships, and analyzed the company's finances. This immersive experience allowed him to understand how operational decisions impact both short-term outcomes and long-term growth. He learned that efficiency, attention to detail, and careful planning were not just managerial principles. They were survival mechanisms in business. By 1974, at the young age of 25, Bernard had already proven his leadership potential and was appointed CEO of Ferret-Savinol. Taking control of the company at such a young age was both a challenge and an opportunity. Bernard applied a combination of discipline, strategic vision, and meticulous analysis to streamline operations, improve financial performance, and expand the company's influence in the construction industry. Under his leadership, Ferret-Savinol not only maintained its position, but also began to grow, demonstrating Bernard's early ability to combine technical knowledge with strategic business insight. One of Bernard's key lessons during this period was the importance of risk assessment and calculated decision-making. Construction, like business, involves uncertainty. Project can go over budget, delays can occur, and client demands can shift unexpectedly. Bernard learned to anticipate potential pitfalls, plan contingencies, and act decisively when necessary. These experiences cultivated his natural ability to balance risk with opportunity, a skill that would later define his approach to acquisitions and brand management in the luxury sector. Beyond operational skills, Bernard's time at Ferret-Savinol also developed his people management and leadership abilities. He observed how his father motivated teams, managed relationships, and balanced authority with empathy. Bernard realized that effective leadership requires inspiring confidence, delegating responsibility, and creating an environment where employees can perform at their best. He saw firsthand that the success of a company is not solely determined by strategy or capital, but by how effectively people are guided, motivated, and empowered. Another crucial aspect of his early career was the exposure to strategic thinking in resource management and long-term planning. He learned that every project, investment, and contract needed to be assessed not only for immediate profitability, but also for its impact on the company's reputation, sustainability, and future growth. Bernard developed an early understanding that true business leadership requires foresight, patience, and the ability to see opportunities that others might overlook. During this period, Bernard also nurtured a keen understanding of market dynamics and competition. By observing other construction firms, client behavior, and industry trends, he learned to identify undervalued opportunities, anticipate market shifts, and leverage strategic advantages. These lessons would later become critical when he transitioned to the luxury industry, where he would spot undervalued brands, and transform them into global icons. His early career also taught him the value of discipline and meticulous attention to detail. Construction projects leave no room for mistakes. Precision in planning, execution, and quality control is essential. Bernard carried this principle forward into every business endeavor, applying it not just to operations, but to brand management, product quality, and corporate strategy in LVMH. By the end of his tenure at Ferret Savinol, Bernard Arnault had developed a rare combination of technical expertise, operational insight, strategic vision, and leadership acumen. He had learned to navigate complex projects, manage people, assess risks, and identify opportunities that others might overlook. These early experiences equipped him with the foundation necessary to take bold risks, transform struggling brands, and eventually build one of the most powerful luxury empires in history. Bernard's time at Ferret Savinol illustrates a fundamental truth about his life. Success is built not overnight, but through consistent learning, disciplined application, and the courage to act decisively when the moment arises. The lessons he absorbed here, strategy, leadership, patience, and vision, would be the blueprint for his next, more ambitious ventures into the world of luxury, where his unique abilities would redefine an entire industry. By the early 1980s, Bernard Arnault had established himself as a capable and disciplined businessman through his work at Ferret Savinol, mastering operations, strategy, and leadership. Yet his ambitions stretched far beyond construction. Bernard began to see opportunities in industries where vision, creativity, and branding could transform value, not just raw operations. It was during this period that he turned his attention to the world of luxury, an industry steeped in history, emotion, and cultural significance. In 1984, Bernard made his first bold move into the luxury sector by acquiring the struggling Boussac Group, a French textile and retail company. Among its assets was Christian Dior, a brand rich in heritage but facing severe financial difficulties. While many investors saw only a failing company weighed down by debt, Bernard perceived tremendous potential. He understood that luxury was not a commodity. It was a combination of history, culture, creativity, and emotional resonance. He saw that with strategic management, investment, and visionary leadership, a brand like Dior could be revived and positioned as a global icon once again. Bernard's approach to Dior was methodical, calculated, and visionary. He began by analyzing every aspect of the company, from financial statements and production processes to marketing strategies and creative direction. He recognized the power of heritage. Dior was not merely a fashion house. It was a symbol of elegance, identity, and aspiration. He knew that restoring its prestige would require patience, investment, and a careful balance between tradition and innovation. This understanding of brand essence would become a hallmark of his leadership style. One of Bernard's first strategic moves was to modernize the management structure of Dior. He brought in talented executives, restructured departments, and implemented disciplined operational standards. At the same time, he recognized that creative talent was the heart of luxury, so he empowered designers to innovate while respecting Dior's legacy. This balance between discipline and creative freedom became a defining characteristic of his approach to luxury management. Bernard also invested heavily in marketing and global expansion. He understood that Dior's future depended not only on its products, but also on its global perception. He launched campaigns to elevate the brand's prestige, developed retail experiences that communicated luxury as an emotional journey, and expanded into international markets. He recognized early that Asia, the United States, and other emerging luxury markets will become critical for global growth. By anticipating these trends, Bernard positioned Dior ahead of competitors and ensured its revival was both rapid and sustainable. During this period, Bernard's strategic genius became evident. He demonstrated an ability to see potential where others saw failure, to evaluate risk not only in financial terms, but in terms of cultural and emotional value. His vision extended beyond profit margins. He understood that true luxury success required a deep connection between the brand and the consumer's aspirations, identity, and lifestyle. Every decision, from product design to store layout, was aimed at creating an immersive experience that resonated on multiple levels. His work at Agar also revealed Bernard's talent for long-term thinking. He was not interested in short-term profits. He sought to build a brand that would endure for decades. This perspective required patience, calculated investment, and the courage to make unpopular decisions when necessary. It was a lesson that would later guide him in building LVMH into a global luxury empire. By the late 1980s, Agar was no longer struggling. It had become a symbol of Bernard Arnault's ability to revive heritage brands and transform them into global icons. This success marked a turning point in his career, proving that his skills in strategy, leadership, and vision were not limited to construction or operations, but could also create immense value in complex, creative, and highly competitive industries. Bernard Arnault's entry into luxury teaches a critical lesson. Success comes not from following conventional paths, but from identifying undervalued opportunities, respecting heritage, and executing with disciplined creativity. By recognizing the emotional and cultural power of Agar, he set the stage for the creation of LVMH and established the blueprint that would guide him through decades of strategic acquisitions and empire building. This period of Bernard's life illustrates the transformation of a disciplined businessman into a visionary strategist, capable of turning heritage, creativity, and culture into tangible global influence. It was the moment where Bernard Arnault transitioned from being a talented executive to a true architect of modern luxury, a man whose foresight and courage would reshape an entire industry for generations to come. By the mid-1980s, Bernard Arnault had successfully demonstrated his ability to revive and elevate struggling brands, most notably Christian Dior. However, he understood that true influence in the luxury sector required more than a single brand. It required a strategic consolidation of multiple prestigious houses under a cohesive vision. This insight set the stage for one of the most transformative moves in modern business history: the birth and leadership of LVMH, the world's largest luxury conglomerate. In 1987, a merger was announced between Louis Vuitton, the iconic fashion house and global symbol of luxury, and Moët Hennessy, the leading producer of champagne and cognac. At the time, the newly formed company, LVMH, faced challenges including internal disagreements, management conflicts, and the integration of two distinct corporate cultures. Many observers viewed the merger as volatile and uncertain. But Bernard saw an opportunity where others saw instability. He recognized that by carefully acquiring influence and consolidating control, he could create a platform capable of transforming the global luxury market. Bernard approached LVMH with a combination of strategic patience, calculated risk-taking, and long-term vision. Unlike short-sighted executives focused on immediate profit, he aimed to build an empire that could sustain growth, cultural influence, and brand prestige over decades. He gradually increased his stake in LVMH, navigating complex negotiations with other shareholders, leveraging financial instruments, and strategically timing his moves to maximize control. By the early 1990s, Bernard Arnault had positioned himself as the central figure in LVMH, setting the stage for the expansion and global dominance that would define the company. One of Bernard's key insights during this period was the understanding that luxury is not only about products, but also about perception and cultural influence. Every brand within LVMH had its own history, identity, and emotional resonance with consumers. Bernard knew that maintaining this distinctiveness was critical. The success of the conglomerate depended on preserving each brand's uniqueness while leveraging the power of the larger corporate structure. He implemented a strategy that respected heritage, nurtured creativity, and maintained high operational standards, ensuring that each acquisition contributed to the greater ecosystem of LVMH. The creation of LVMH also allowed Bernard to develop and implement a synergistic growth strategy. By consolidating resources, sharing expertise, and optimizing operations across multiple brands, he created an environment in which individual houses could thrive while benefiting from the scale, financial strength, and global reach of the conglomerate. He recognized that synergy was not simply about cost-cutting or efficiency. It was about creating a network of brands that reinforced each other's prestige, innovation, and cultural impact. During this formative period, Bernard also demonstrated his talent for identifying undervalued opportunities and turning them into global successes. He did not merely acquire companies for their current profitability. He looked for brands with heritage, authenticity, and long-term potential. His strategic foresight allowed him to see how a struggling company could be revitalized through investment, creative direction, marketing, and global positioning. This approach would later be applied repeatedly, as he expanded LVMH into a portfolio of over 75 luxury brands across fashion, cosmetics, jewelry, wine, and spirits. Another critical aspect of this period was Bernard's focus on global expansion and market positioning. He understood that to establish LVMH as the leader in luxury, the company needed to have a presence in key international markets, including Asia, North America, and Europe. He envisioned a future in which LVMH brands would not only sell products but also represent aspiration, lifestyle, and cultural influence worldwide. Every retail strategy, marketing campaign, and acquisition decision was guided by this long-term vision, blending financial acumen with cultural sensitivity. The birth of LVMH marked a turning point in Bernard Arnault's career. He had transitioned from a talented business strategist to a visionary leader capable of transforming an entire industry. LVMH became a platform for not only preserving and enhancing luxury brands, but also for setting global standards in creativity, marketing, and consumer experience. Through LVMH, Bernard was able to redefine what luxury meant in the modern era, combining heritage, innovation, and cultural resonance in a way that no other leader had achieved. By the end of this period, it was clear that Bernard Arnault was not simply an investor or a businessman. He was a master architect of modern luxury, capable of seeing potential, orchestrating complex strategies, and executing decisions with precision and foresight. The creation of LVMH was not just the formation of a company. It was the foundation of an empire, one that would grow to dominate fashion, jewelry, beauty, watches, and spirits on a global scale, influencing how the world perceives aspiration, elegance, and status. Bernard Arnault's journey in forming LVMH teaches us that true leadership combines vision, patience, risk-taking, and strategic execution. It demonstrates that success is built on foresight, understanding of human desire, and the ability to harmonize diverse elements into a single, cohesive, and powerful whole. Once Bernard Arnault had firmly established control of LVMH, he understood that true dominance in the luxury sector required far more than a single successful brand or a single market. He realized that the world of luxury was not static. It was dynamic, aspirational, and deeply emotional. To create a lasting empire, Bernard needed a strategy that combined strategic acquisitions, operational excellence, and a deep understanding of culture and human desire. This insight became the foundation of his approach to expansion and acquisition, and it would transform LVMH into a global powerhouse. Arnault's strategy began with a simple but profound principle: identify undervalued brands with heritage, authenticity, and potential, and transform them into world-class icons. Unlike other investors who focused only on short-term profits, Bernard looked at the long-term potential of each acquisition. He evaluated not only the financials but also the brand's identity, creative capacity, and cultural significance. For him, a successful acquisition was more than a financial transaction. It was a commitment to revive, elevate, and preserve the essence of a brand. During the late 1980s and early 1990s, Bernard executed his first major wave of acquisitions. Brands like Fendi, Givenchy, Celine, and Loewe became part of LVMH under his leadership. In each case, Bernard implemented a carefully balanced approach, giving creative teams freedom to innovate while enforcing rigorous standards of quality, heritage, and operational efficiency. This delicate balance between autonomy and oversight became one of Bernard's defining strategies, ensuring that each brand retained its unique identity while benefiting from the scale, resources, and global reach of the conglomerate. A key element of Bernard's expansion strategy was his understanding of synergy across brands. He realized that luxury was not just about individual products. It was about creating an ecosystem where brands reinforce each other's prestige, marketing power, and consumer influence. By carefully integrating operations, sharing expertise, and aligning global strategy, Bernard ensured that LVMH became more than the sum of its parts. This approach allowed the group to dominate multiple sectors, from fashion and jewelry to cosmetics, watches, and spirits, while maintaining the distinct prestige of each brand. Bernard also emphasized geographic expansion as part of his acquisition strategy. He foresaw the rising importance of global markets, particularly in Asia, the Middle East, and North America. Every acquisition was analyzed not only for its domestic potential, but also for its ability to succeed internationally. Bernard ensured that brands were positioned to resonate culturally, adapt to local tastes, and provide immersive experiences that captured the imagination of consumers worldwide. This global perspective allowed LVMH to grow far beyond Europe and the United States, creating an empire that was truly global in influence and reach. Another crucial aspect of Bernard's strategy was brand rejuvenation. He acquired companies that were undervalued or struggling, but he saw the hidden potential in their history, craftsmanship, and cultural impact. By investing in marketing, retail innovation, product development, and creative talent, Bernard revitalized these brands, turning them into symbols of aspiration and excellence. Each success reinforced the LVMH ecosystem and cemented Bernard's reputation as a visionary capable of turning challenges into opportunities. Bernard's approach also demonstrates his mastery of timing and patience. He did not rush acquisitions. Each move was carefully planned, analyzed, and executed with precision. He understood that the luxury market is sensitive to perception, emotion, and timing, and a premature or poorly executed acquisition could damage both the brand and the conglomerate. Bernard's ability to wait for the right moment, align strategic goals, and act decisively became one of the hallmarks of his leadership and the driving force behind LVMH's meteoric rise. During this period, Bernard also cultivated a network of strategic advisors, creative leaders, and financial experts who could support his vision. He understood that building an empire required not only his own insight, but also the collective intelligence of experts across sectors. By leveraging their skills while maintaining ultimate strategic control, Bernard was able to orchestrate complex acquisitions, integrate diverse brands, and create operational harmony across a sprawling global organization. By the early 2000s, LVMH had transformed into a luxury empire unrivaled in scale, prestige, and influence. Bernard Arnault's acquisitions had created a portfolio of iconic brands, each with its own identity and global reach, but all interconnected under a singular vision of excellence, creativity, and aspiration. His strategy demonstrated that true expansion is not just about size or revenue. It is about building a network of brands that collectively shape culture, taste, and global perception. Bernard Arnault's expansion and acquisition strategy offers a powerful lesson in business leadership. Success comes from vision, patience, calculated risk-taking, and the ability to harmonize diverse elements into a cohesive and influential whole. By identifying potential where others saw weakness, balancing creativity with discipline, and acting with precision, Bernard transformed LVMH into a global symbol of luxury, innovation, and enduring influence. This period cemented his status not merely as a businessman, but as a visionary architect of modern luxury, capable of reshaping industries and creating an empire that continues to define aspiration and excellence worldwide. As we reflect on the extraordinary journey of Bernard Arnault, it becomes clear that his life is not just a story of wealth or business success. It is a testament to vision, discipline, and relentless ambition, tempered by creativity and cultural sensitivity. From his earliest days in Roubaix, France, observing his father manage Ferret Savinol to his rise as the head of the world's largest luxury conglomerate. Arnault's path is defined by strategic thinking, patience, and an unparalleled ability to see potential where others see risk. Arnault's story begins in a household that emphasized education, rigor, and meticulous planning. These early lessons instilled in him the understanding that success is earned through preparation, observation, and disciplined action. He absorbed the intricacies of leadership, management, and strategic foresight at an age when most are still discovering their ambitions. This early foundation shaped his character, his work ethic, and his ability to envision possibilities far beyond the immediate horizon. Education at École Polytechnique further refined his analytical skills, problem-solving abilities, and understanding of complex systems. But more importantly, it taught him the importance of combining technical knowledge with human insight, a lesson that would define his approach to leadership. Bernard learned to see systems holistically, both operational and human, and to anticipate outcomes with precision. This ability to marry logic with vision became the cornerstone of his future empire. Bernard's early career at Ferret Savinol provided the practical grounding that theory alone could not offer. Running the family business, managing projects, teams, and finances, he developed leadership, resilience, and the ability to navigate risk. It was here that Bernard discovered the profound truth that strategy alone is not enough. Execution and meticulous attention to detail are equally critical. He learned to balance immediate challenges with long-term vision, a skill that would later allow him to transform struggling luxury brands into icons of global prestige. The move into the luxury industry marked the beginning of a new chapter in Bernard's life, a chapter defined by creativity, culture, and the fusion of tradition with innovation. His acquisition of Christian Dior demonstrated a rare ability to see cultural and emotional value alongside financial opportunity. He understood that luxury was not merely a product. It was an experience, a story, and a symbol of aspiration. By restoring Dior, he proved that his strategic genius extended beyond numbers into the realm of emotion, heritage, and global influence. The formation of LVMH was the culmination of Bernard's vision, a platform that united multiple iconic brands under a single strategy, balancing autonomy, creativity, and operational excellence. Through LVMH, he implemented a cohesive global strategy, leveraging synergy, scale, and innovation to redefine the luxury industry. His approach demonstrated that real success comes not from dominating a single brand, but from creating an interconnected empire where each element reinforces and elevates the others. Bernard Arnault's expansion and acquisition strategy further solidified his status as a visionary. By identifying undervalued brands, rejuvenating them, and positioning them in global markets, he demonstrated patience, foresight, and impeccable timing. His genius lay in seeing the potential in heritage, culture, and craftsmanship, and in understanding that long-term success depends on emotional resonance as much as financial performance. Through this approach, LVMH became a symbol of global luxury, cultural influence, and enduring excellence. Beyond business, Bernard Arnault has influenced art, culture, and society. His investments in museums, contemporary art, and cultural initiatives reflect a deep understanding that luxury is intertwined with human creativity, aesthetics, and storytelling. By bridging commerce and culture, he has elevated the concept of luxury into a cultural phenomenon, shaping taste, lifestyle, and aspiration on a global scale. Arnault's leadership philosophy is a blueprint for success. Combine vision with discipline, creativity with operational excellence, and patience with decisive action. He demonstrates that true influence comes from foresight, strategic thinking, and the ability to harmonize diverse elements into a cohesive, globally resonant whole. He empowers creative talent while enforcing rigorous standards, nurtures innovation while respecting heritage, and always prioritizes long-term impact over short-term gain. Today, Bernard Arnault is not merely one of the richest men in the world. He is a symbol of strategic genius, cultural influence, and visionary leadership. His legacy extends far beyond wealth. It is defined by his ability to transform industries, elevate brands, inspire creativity, and shape global culture. The story of Bernard Arnault teaches that success is not an accident. It is the result of preparation, insight, risk-taking, and relentless pursuit of excellence. As we close this journey through the life of Bernard Arnault, we see a man who combines intellect with intuition, strategy with creativity, and heritage with innovation. His story reminds us that greatness is achieved not only by seizing opportunities, but also by creating them through vision, courage, and perseverance. Bernard Arnault's life stands as an enduring lesson for entrepreneurs, leaders, and dreamers worldwide. With discipline, foresight, and unwavering ambition, it is possible to reshape industries, influence cultures, and leave a legacy that transcends generations.